Sunday, about 9. A show you're not watching. Your thumb keeps going. A promotion post. A ring on someone's hand. Someone your age hiring now. You put the phone face down on the arm of the couch. You pick it up again in under a minute. It's your one night off, and you've spent it checking your position against people who don't know they're in a race. There's a sentence that goes with this, and it arrives on its own. Everyone else is ahead. Nobody says it out loud. It just lands, somewhere between the third post and the fourth, and your whole chest agrees with it before you've checked a single fact. Notice what didn't happen. Nothing got weighed. No case was made, for it or against it. The verdict came first, fully formed, and you've been carrying it around all evening like it's information. Behind is a strange word, though. Behind means there's a schedule. In your head it shows up as I started too late, as though there were a start line and a gun, and you were in the bathroom. So whose schedule is it? Say it slowly. By 30. Married by then. House by there. Somebody wrote that. It wasn't you, and it wasn't anyone who's coming to check. You absorbed it the way you absorbed a national anthem. Early, sideways, without ever agreeing to it. There's no exam you missed. There's just a feeling that you did. So if there's no schedule and no scoreboard, why does the feeling arrive with such confidence? There's a theory from the 50s that's held up remarkably well. It says we have a drive to know how we're doing. And when there's no ruler for the thing, no objective measurement for a life, we use other people as the ruler. That's the whole engine. There's no objective measurement of behind. So you built one out of the people around you. It's a theory about a drive, not a law. People aren't machines about it. But watch who your mind reaches for. Not humanity. Not the 8 billion. You feel behind against the girl from your course, your cousin, the guy who sat 2 desks over. You're measuring yourself against roughly 40 people you happen to have met. That's the sample. It was never chosen for fairness. It was chosen by who you bumped into. And you don't decide to do it. By the time you've noticed the comparison, it's already finished. The ranking happened somewhere below the level you get a vote on. What takes effort is the second thought, the one that says, hold on, that wasn't a fair match. That thought is slow. It costs energy. And at 11 on a Sunday night you don't have any left. So the first verdict just stands. Comparison points 2 ways, and only one of them gets talked about. Up at the people ahead of you. That's the one that stings. So that's the one you remember. But there's down. At the ones behind. Nobody admits to that one, and everybody does it. The friend whose year went worse than yours, and something in you settles, just slightly. You didn't ask for the reassurance. You took it anyway. Here's what decides which way it cuts. Take 2 people, both further along than you. One feels reachable. You can see the steps. You can picture yourself there in 3 years. That person is fuel. The other feels like a different species. Different luck, different start, different life. And they don't inspire you at all. They read as evidence. Evidence against you. Same feed. Same scroll. Completely different injury. And there's no clean rule for which is which. Now put that machinery in front of a feed. And this next bit isn't a study, it's just arithmetic. A post is an outcome with the process cut out. The ring, not the 2 years. The job, not the 40 rejections. So you're running a perfectly fair comparison on a rigged sample and getting an answer that feels like truth because the machinery worked exactly as designed. It's not your judgment that's broken. You were handed edited evidence. And people who say they compare themselves to others online do tend to report feeling worse. Though notice what that can't tell us, whether the comparing made them low or the low made them reach for the phone. Both are perfectly plausible. Honestly, probably both are true. Running in a loop on a Sunday night in a dark room with nobody around to break it. There's a link between using these apps and feeling worse. I'm not going to pretend there isn't. But I have to be honest about the size of it because everyone else skips this part. When researchers ran it across enormous data sets, the effect came out small. Small enough that the headlines were doing something the data wasn't. Which is inconvenient for a video like this one. It's still true. So here I'd rather give you the mess than the take. Researchers are genuinely fighting about this one. One camp says these platforms are doing real damage, at scale, to a generation. The other says the effect is small and the direction is unproven. That feeling bad drives the scrolling at least as much as the scrolling drives feeling bad. They're both serious people. It isn't settled. Anyone selling you certainty here is selling you something. People have tested the obvious fix. Take the apps away, measure what happens. The results are mixed and modest, which is not the answer either side wanted, and not the answer I wanted either. So I'm not going to tell you to delete anything. If deleting it were the cure would have shown up clearly by now. It didn't. Which points somewhere more uncomfortable. Because the phone isn't the villain here, and none of this is something you developed wrong. There's no objective measure of a life. None. Given that, checking yourself against other people isn't irrational. It's the only reading anyone can actually take. You're not weak for taking it. You're reading a ruler somebody else printed, in a race somebody else started, against a clock nobody's actually holding. Comparison isn't the disease. It's a working tool pointed at bad data. And I'm not going to tell you comparison is poison, because that's not what the work says either. The person one step ahead of you has genuinely useful information. That's how you learn to cook, or write, or lift, or raise a kid. Upward comparison built most of what you're good at. It only turns on you when the gap stops looking like a map and starts looking like a verdict. And I don't want to talk you out of all of it, because some of that ache is accurate. The two feel identical from the inside, but they don't behave the same. Comparison is indiscriminate. It envies everything. The house, the wedding, the trip. A real signal is specific. If the ache only shows up for one thing, the same thing, over and over, even on the days you haven't opened anything, that's not comparison. That's information, and it doesn't need the feed to reach you. So go back to the sentence, catch it next time it lands. Everyone else is ahead. It sounds like a fact. It isn't. It's the output of a fair instrument-fed edited evidence, comparing you to 40 people you happen to meet, against a schedule you never signed. Every part of that verdict is compromised, and it arrived anyway, with total confidence, and you believed it because your chest did. And there's a price on the race, and it isn't the one you'd guess. It isn't that catching up is hard. It's simpler and worse than that. The more you chase catch-up, the less you taste your actual life. Every hour spent ranking yourself as an hour you were technically alive for and didn't taste. The dinner you ate while checking. The Sunday you spent auditing instead of having. That's the bill, and you've been paying it in evenings. And I should say this plainly, because for a few people watching, this isn't only a Sunday problem anymore. If it's every day now, if you can't be genuinely happy for anyone anymore, if someone's good news lands like a loss, and it's been like that for months, please take it to someone, not as one more thing you're failing at. It's a lot to have carried by yourself for that long, and there are people whose actual job is helping you set some of it down. So I'm not going to hand you a system, just one move, the small one. When the sentence lands, don't argue with it, ask it a question. Behind who? Against whose calendar? Usually the answer is nobody, and a schedule you never read. That won't fix your chest, but it puts a half second between the verdict and believing it. And that half second is where your actual Sunday lives. So, if the feed went dark tomorrow and nobody could ever see any of it, what would you still want? That one's worth writing down. It's the only answer on this whole subject that isn't borrowed. Rare Mind does one of these a week, if you want the company on a Sunday.